You're 12 years old, playing barefoot in the dirt outside your family shack in Ming Dynasty, China, 1570. A black lacquered carriage pulls up. It doesn't belong here, and the silence it brings is more terrifying than any sound. A man in silk robes steps out, face like stone, eyes like a butcher scanning the meat aisle. He's here for you. He doesn't ask. He inspects your teeth, your feet, your skin, like your livestock on sale day. Then he tosses your father a sack of silver. And just like that, you're gone. Sold. Not as a bride, not even as a servant. You're a concubine. Your mother's sobs fade as the cart rattles away, her face blurred by tears and dust. Make no mistake, this isn't a kidnapping. This is a business transaction. And you are the asset. Think of it like being a high-value draft pick, chosen for your potential, but with zero say in the matter. The reality is far more brutal. During reigns like the Wanli emperors, thousands of girls aged 14 to 16 were brought to the palace for selection. Officials would then whittle them down based on their physique, their posture, their voice. One misplaced mole, one glance deemed improper, and you were sent home in disgrace. And you out of thousands are one of the lucky few who made the first cut. You arrive at a towering gate red as blood. This is the gate of divine might. Eunuchs with cold eyes herd you through their faces, impassive. You are livestock, and this is the pen. Inside, you're stripped naked, shivering on the cold stone floor with dozens of other terrified girls. They poke and prod. They check your skin for blemishes, your posture for grace, your hands for coarseness. One girl is sent away for a crooked nose. Another is kept because her feet are deemed small enough to bind. Yeah, foot binding. They crush your bones into so-called lotus shapes, so you'll hobble prettily for the emperor. It's torture that will last for weeks, a pain so absolute it will burn away parts of who you used to be. You need to understand what's happening. This isn't random cruelty. It's a calculated strategy. This is the ultimate hazing ritual designed to break you down completely so they can rebuild you in their image. They are erasing you, your past, your family, your name. You are no longer your father's daughter. You are now a number, a blank slate, a potential vessel for imperial favor. And the biggest mistake you can make right now is thinking you can hold on to who you were. That girl who played barefoot in the dirt, she has to die for the woman in silk to live. Resisting at this stage, showing even a flicker of defiance, is a fatal error. The lesson is brutal and immediate. Assimilation is survival. You pass the inspection. Barely. Now you're in the harem, a maze of silk walls and whispered threats. Your first year is a blur of menial labor. You start at the absolute bottom of the food chain, scrubbing floors before dawn. Your job is to make senior consorts look good while remaining completely invisible. You pour tea too slow, and a senior consort slaps you her rings, cutting your cheek. You spill a single drop of wine, and you're locked in a lightless closet for a day, hunger gnawing at your belly. But the physical punishment is nothing compared to the whispers. That's the real battlefield here. This is the most toxic workplace imaginable. Forget office politics. This is a snake pit. Your coworkers aren't competing for a promotion. They're competing for their lives, and they'd sell their own children to keep their spot. The girl next to you, the one with the jade hairpin, spreads a rumor that you stole a noble's comb. Suddenly, you're scrubbing latrines for a month while she flutters her fan and catches the eye of a powerful eunuch. You're learning a new currency here. It's not silver or gold, it's soft power. A well-placed rumor, a manufactured secret, a lie whispered into the right ear. These are more deadly than any blade. You learn the most important lesson of your new life: trust no one. Your only ally is the information you can gather. You start to watch, to listen. Who is friends with whom? Who is in debt to a eunuch? Who has a secret lover? This is your real education. And the final exam is survival. You quickly learn the emperor is a distant sun, a celestial concept you might never touch. But the eunuchs, they are the air you breathe, the ground you walk on, the gatekeepers of your entire world. The senior eunuch of your wing, a man with a face like wrinkled parchment, controls everything. He decides who gets the silk blankets instead of the scratchy wool, who gets an extra piece of fruit, who gets assigned to a desirable task. You start to observe him. You learn his routine. You make sure the tea is waiting for him after his morning rounds, prepared exactly as he likes it without ever being asked. One day you offer him a small carved wooden bird, a worthless trinket your father taught you to make, a tiny piece of your forgotten life. He doesn't smile. He just grunts and takes it. But the next day, a silk blanket appears on your bed. You're not just bribing a guard. You are learning to navigate a complex political machine. Eunuchs ran the Forbidden City. They controlled the flow of information, managed the treasury, and commanded the palace guard. Because they could never seize the throne themselves, they became the indispensable and terrifyingly powerful agents of imperial will. Think of a powerful eunuch less like a servant and more like a modern-day chief of staff. He controls the schedule, decides who gets a meeting, and filters every piece of information that reaches the top. Angering him gets you blacklisted. Earning his favor can save your life. This isn't an exaggeration. In the late Ming dynasty, a eunuch named Wei Zhongxian became so powerful, he was known as the 9,000 years, just one step below the emperor's 10,000 years. He was a shadow emperor, ordering executions and promoting allies at will. That little bribe you just paid for a blanket, that's the first step on a very, very long ladder. Your big break comes when a senior consort picks you to serve at a state banquet. You're dressed in silk that costs more than your entire village, but it feels less like a reward and more like a leash. The hall glitters with gold, the air thick with the scent of roasted duck and expensive perfume. You are a ghost meant to float through it all unnoticed. Your hands shake as you pour wine for a visiting noble. His eyes linger on you, his grin sour with rice liquor. But his gaze doesn't matter. You focus on the real power in the room. Not the emperor, not yet. You focus on his mother, the Empress Dowager. She sits on a raised dais, her face a mask of serene indifference. She is the chairman of the board. Her approval is the ultimate currency, and her silent judgment is more terrifying than any blade. You set the cup down, your fan fluttering just enough to hide your panic. You step back into the shadows. A perfect, silent execution of your task. And that's when it happens. The emperor, who has been a bored shadow at the head of the room, looks up. His eyes pass over the laughing nobles, the senior consorts, and land on you. It's not a look of lust, it's a look of appraisal. He didn't notice you because you were the prettiest. He noticed you because in a room full of noise and chaos, you were a moment of perfect, disciplined calm. This is your interview, and you just passed the first round. The common mistake is to think this is a beauty pageant. It isn't. Trying too hard, being too flirtatious or bold, that's seen as vulgar. It makes you a threat to the established order. The real art is subtlety. It's proving your intelligence, grace, and composure without ever speaking a word. You didn't just serve wine, you demonstrated that you could handle the pressure of the court. And in this gilded cage, that quality is rarer and far more valuable than a pretty face. Tonight, your life changes. You are summoned to the Emperor's chambers. The world you knew of menial labor and quiet terror is over. A new world of elevated terror has just begun. Months later, the impossible happens. You are pregnant. Jackpot right wrong. For a fleeting moment, you feel a surge of euphoria. This baby is your ticket to status, to security, to becoming a consort. But that feeling is quickly smothered by a cold, creeping dread. Because a baby, especially a potential male heir, is not a shield. It's a bullseye painted on your back. The whispers in the corridors change. They are no longer just gossip. They are venomous threats. The other consorts look at you with eyes like sharpened knives. Your food suddenly tastes metallic. You eye every cup of tea, wondering if it's your last. Then the first attack. The jade hairpin consort accuses you of stealing a pearl bracelet given to her by the emperor's mother. It's a lie, a blatant fabrication, but truth is a luxury here. You're hauled before the chief eunuch. You're guilty until proven innocent, and the punishment for stealing from the Empress Dowager is a slow, painful death. You're learning the central paradox of the harem. Every success brings you greater danger. This is why a male heir was the ultimate game changer. It could vault a low-ranking girl like you past titled consorts, even past the official empress in terms of raw influence. Your son isn't just a baby. He's a living, breathing chess piece. And your rivals will do anything to sweep him from the board before he's even born. Look no further than the story of Empress Sixi. She began as a low-ranking concubine just like you, but she gave birth to the emperor's only son. And with that single act, she secured her power ruling China from behind a silk screen for nearly 50 years. She is the ultimate example of this strategy's success. And as you kneel on the cold floor, falsely accused, you realize you're playing the most dangerous game in the world. And you've just been dealt the winning hand if you can survive long enough to play it. You survive. Somehow the maid who accused you recants her story, admitting she was coerced. You are spared, but you feel no relief, only a cold knot of fear, because you know that was just a test, a jab to see how you'd react. The real attack is coming. A week later, May, your only ally, slips you a warning, her eyes wide with terror. The Jade Hairpin Consort is framing you for treason. Treason. It's a word that echoes differently in these halls. It doesn't just mean your death. It means the death of your unborn child and anyone remotely connected to you. The old you would have panicked, wept, prayed, but that girl is gone. The new you goes still. You think. You remember the exquisite gold hairpin the emperor gave you, a piece so valuable it could buy a farm. It's your only asset, your only weapon. That night you find the quiet maid, the one who watches everyone but is seen by no one. You press the hairpin into her palm. Its weight is the measure of your desperation. The Jade Hairpin Consort's chambers, you whisper. Under a loose floorboard near her bed, there's a cursed doll with the Emperor's name on it. She'll use it to accuse me. You're not buying loyalty. You're funding an intelligence operation. You spend the night listening to every footstep in the hall, your heart a cold stone in your chest. You've placed your life and your son's life in the hands of a stranger. The next morning, the palace guards arrive at your door, led by the Jade Hairpin Consort herself, her face a mask of triumphant pity. They are here to search your room, to find the evidence she planted. But as they tear your room apart, another set of guards enters, dragging your loyal maid with them. The maid doesn't look at you. She looks at the chief eunuch and presents the cursed doll, found, she says, in the consort's chambers. Silence. The Jade Hairpin Consort's face drains of all color. Her downfall is swift and absolute. Her screams echo through the palace as she is dragged away. You never see her again. You have just learned the most critical lesson of your life. Favor is temporary, but power, real power, comes from building your own network, from using your resources with surgical precision. You didn't just dodge a blade, you aimed one. You are no longer a victim, you are a player. And you just took your first piece off the board. You have a larger staff, finer silks, more power. But you are more of a prisoner than ever. Your son is a walking target. You live in a state of constant, exhausting vigilance. Then the plague sweeps through the city, seeping through the palace walls like a foul mist. The court is in chaos. The emperor is sick, and your favor, which once seemed so bright, begins to fade. A new girl has arrived. Younger, prettier, with a laugh that now echoes where yours once did. You see the emperor's gaze shift, and you know your time is ending. In the old days, this would be your end. Fated consorts were often exiled to a remote, desolate wing of the palace known as the Cold Palace, left to live out their days in obscurity and madness. For others, the death of their emperor meant a forced ritual suicide to accompany him into the next world. You will not accept either fate. You make a choice, a desperate, impossible choice. You decide on an exit strategy. It takes a year of planning, A year of stashing jewels, bribing laundry eunuchs, and mapping guard rotations. Then one night, under the cover of a new moon, you swaddle your son, now a toddler, in a basket of soiled imperial laundry. You press a kiss to his forehead, your last. A eunuch you've paid with every last jewel you own wheels the cart out of the palace gates. You don't know if he will make it. You don't know if he will be found. The silence in your chambers is a roaring void. It is the sound of your heart being torn out. But it is also the sound of your son's freedom. Your health fails. The palace doctors don't bother with a consort who has lost favor. As you lie on your bed, feverish and fading, the palace roaring on around you, you are no longer a player. You are a ghost in waiting. But you have one move left to make. A new girl is brought to your chambers. She's barely 13, her eyes wide with the same terror you once felt. She has been assigned to serve you in your final days. With what little breath you have left, you don't curse your fate. You don't weep for what you've lost. You lean in and whisper the rules. Watch the eunuchs. You tell her your voice, a dry rasp. Learn their faces. Learn their price. Turn their whispers into your weapons, and never ever let them see you bleed. You were never just a concubine. You were a spark in a dynasty's flame. A shadow that outwitted death right up until the moment it finally came knocking. Your last breath slips out into the perfumed air. You never escaped the Forbidden City. But your son did. Somewhere in the world that tried to crush you, your bloodline runs free. Your legacy isn't a title carved in stone or a portrait gathering dust in a forgotten hall. It's the quiet defiance of smuggling your child to freedom. And it's the wisdom you passed on to the next girl in line. You won the game not by sitting on a throne, but by ensuring a part of you walked away from the board forever.